Hi everybody, Tim here. Welcome to the channel today. I am in my car, which it's been a hot minute since I did anything from here in the car. But I just wanted to take a little time and talk about some stuff that's been on my mind. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the state of music from the home recording buff aspect. And I got to thinking back to way back when, in like the late 80s, early 90s, when I really got into playing and writing my own stuff and trying to find ways to record. And it seemed like back then, the only thing you had was a 4-track tape machine if you were lucky. If you knew somebody with an 8-track tape machine, wow, that was like you had your own professional recording studio right there. But really, that was about all we had, was a cassette deck, and maybe it was a 4-track, maybe it was just a boom box that you had managed to split the inputs so that you had 2 channels to work from. And we really didn't have a whole lot of recording stuff. And I remember feeling like that was the thing that was holding us back. Well, there could be a lot more of us that were the big major rock stars if we could just get our hands on the stuff to record with properly. The big names all had these fancy studios with all kinds of compressors and EQs and reverbs and all kinds of fancy equipment and microphones and all that. And that was why they were making the great recordings. It wasn't that they were so much better than us. It's just that they had access, they had money that would get them into the studios, that would get them this amazing equipment to record on. So that's the thing that's holding us back. That's the reason we're not all major rock stars, is we just don't have the equipment. We can't afford the gear. And to an extent, part of that was true. I mean, there was a lot of guys that I heard that were really, really good musicians who just couldn't find a way to record. You'd go to a buddy's house and hear him play on his guitar on an acoustic or something, and it sounded awesome, but he had no good microphones. He had no good recording system. And, well, that's the reason they're not a star. Had nothing to do with anything else. Then, came the digital revolution, and things really, in my mind, kind of started picking up in the 2000s, kind of towards the end of the first decade there of the aughts. And that's when you really started seeing recording software that the average person could use. I know there'd been stuff for several years before that. Pro Tools had been around for a long time, but still, even Pro Tools was really expensive, still is really expensive, and the gear to be able to support it was really expensive. It was coming down in price to where if you saved for a couple of years, you might be able to get a decent system and start doing some of them. But even then, it still wasn't really approachable from the average Joe's aspect. And then you kind of started getting stuff like, I remember the first one I used was N-Track Studio, back on the PC, way back in had to have been like 98, 99, I started using that, and I had a really nice Sound Blaster sound card. It wasn't a multi-track sound card. It was just a left and right, in and out. And I ran a mixer into my computer, and that's where me and my buddy Eric started doing some recording back then. But then a few years later, in the 2000s, the Pentium started getting a lot better. Macs had started getting a lot better. Software started becoming more plentiful. There started to be a lot more options. And then suddenly, over the last, 10, 15 years, you've really been able to get a lot of high quality software for not a lot of money. A lot of it's even been free. I mean, you can get a full recording studio in a virtual setting on your laptop for free. You can get your DAW. You can get guitar amp sims. You can get synths. You can get all kinds of effects and studio processing gear that used to take up racks and racks of space and cost thousands and thousands of dollars. You could put it all in your computer, and as long as you had a cable to plug into the computer and get a left and right channel, hey, you could record. And then audio interfaces started coming down, and now you can get a 4 or an 8 or a 16 channel audio interface for a few $100, the price of one decent guitar. So we've got it now. We've got all the equipment we could ever want to do this recording that 30 years ago we told ourselves was the reason we were not popular, the reason that we weren't huge stars, the reason that nobody could hear us at all. So why aren't we huge stars? We've all got the gear. That was the thing that was holding us back. Or maybe it wasn't. Maybe what was holding us back was the fact that we're not that good. I mean, that is one possible answer, right? We're just not that good. I tend to reject that answer because I still have heard some amazing music come out of some not popular people. On occasion, I've even played stuff that I thought, that's really good. But again, I'm not hugely popular, so what's the deal? Back in the 80s and 90s, it seemed like there was this barrier that was put up that kept us from getting heard and getting noticed and getting discovered. And that was that we didn't have the kind of access that the big name acts that had a recording contract or some sort of promotions firm or management company working on their behalf to get them seen, to get them played on terrestrial radio, to get them gigs at the bigger venues rather than just the mom and pop bars around town. There was that barrier that you had to overcome to get noticed. And that was a hard thing for a lot of bands to do. So now that we've got all that access and we've got the internet and anybody can be heard at any time, what happened? I think, in a way, the internet and this ease of access, this ease of being able to put your stuff out there has worked against us in a similar fashion to the not being able to get noticed in the 80s and 90s. You're still not able to get noticed because now, instead of there being this barrier that not many people could overcome to even get their stuff out there, it's so easy to get your stuff out there that you get lost in the noise. There's just no way to get seen and heard because there's just so much of it. So what do you do about it? Well, clearly, as you can see from my subscriber numbers and my Spotify play numbers, I don't really have an answer. But I think it's kind of missing the point. I think that's not really the goal. At least it's not my goal in this current time. My goal, I'm a little older now. I've got kids, I've got a family, and my priorities have shifted. I just want to do it for the sake of doing it. I love getting the gear. I love creating stuff. I love finding and learning about recording and playing and examining songs and trying to come up with new ideas myself. I just like doing it for the sake of doing it. It's art for the sake of art, which I think is an awesome thing. And I really wish that there were more people doing it. Again, that kind of works against me or you or the person who's trying to get seen, in that it's just creating more noise to get lost in. But at the same time, then you can also go online and find anything. You can find music that'll fit any mood, any scenario, any situation, anything that you're looking to do. It's out there, and you just got to take a little time to find it. And you can have an adventure just in searching for it. But I think it's important to still do it. I think it's important for me to just keep going, even if I'm never going to be the rock star that I dreamed about when I was 18 or 20 or 22 years old. Yeah, sure. Apparently that ship has sailed, but I can still get my stuff out there. I can be seen. I can be heard. It's just going to be a smaller scale. I mean, it's you guys. It's the people that have subscribed to the channel. It's the people that follow me on Instagram and gave my song a listen on Spotify. That's very gratifying to me in its own right. It doesn't need to lead to a world tour or a platinum selling album. I enjoyed the process of making it. I still enjoy the process of creating and recording and tweaking the dials and moving the faders and getting things to sound just right. That to me is as much, if not more fun sometimes than the performance of getting in front of a crowd, of getting in front of a group of people and performing. For me, kind of the performance is kind of nerve-wracking. And I like being able to take that time behind the scenes and get it just right. And then take that finished recording and say, here, listen to this. I think that then I can kind of, watch their reaction and not have to worry about, am I playing the right notes? Can I hear the drums? Am I in time? What's going on? You get distracted too much by that. And sometimes it's kind of hard to see if the person you're playing it for is actually enjoying it. And I like to see that. I like to see that enjoyment. I like to see that reaction. I like to hear that response. I'm not trying to knock performing. I'd like to get back to performing at some point, but right now I'm kind of just having fun writing, recording, making videos, talking about music, all the little fiddly bits about it. I love fiddling. I haven't played my violin in a long time. Schedule hasn't really allowed me to do that. Fiddly. You see where I went with that? Yeah, that's how the brain works sometimes. I don't know. What do you guys think? What's your enjoyment today if you're not a major act that's getting noticed and you've gotten frustrated with the not getting noticed? What's your motivation to keep going? What's the thing that drives you to keep doing it, even if you have gotten to that point where you feel like it's never going to happen? I'm spinning my wheels. Everybody gets to that point where you got to take a break and just get away from it for a few minutes. But what's the thing that keeps you coming back to it? What's that thing that keeps driving you? Let me know.